the one and only podcast by a blind wrestling fan.
Wrestling in the dark!
Hey up guys, welcome to another episode of WItd. Today I'm going to be talking about Eve Riot Girls of Wrestling's Wrestle Queendom 3. This is a brand new world for me. I've never watched a pay-per-view by these guys before. I have watched a few of the free matches that they put up on YouTube, but I've never watched a big event. Wrestle Queendom 3 was just a couple of months ago in January, and I think they've got another show coming up soon, so I thought that I'd watch Wrestle Queendom 3 and then maybe see about watching one of the later ones when it comes up on Fight. Not gonna lie, this was a bloody fun show. I like finding things outside of WWE, outside of AEW. I like watching women's wrestling because I feel like, you know, they're just not as well represented. It's not, we don't need to get into that. You know what the issues are with women's wrestling, and as much as I love the NXT women's division, I still don't think there's as much emphasis on them as there could be. And watching something like Eve, where it was just an all-women's show, was just a brand new experience for me, and actually something that I really enjoyed. There's a lot of characters that I'd never heard of. The commentators, Rhia Owens and Sierra Loxton, I think they might be called. I'd never heard them before, and it was actually really cool having a pair of women commentators there. You don't need a man anchoring it like a Michael Cole or something like that, and they both did a really, really good job. There was multiple times throughout this that they had me laughing, and even on the bits where they maybe dropped calls, they occasionally apologised for that, like, oh, I'm really sorry we're as into this as you are. And as much as it's still like, yeah, well, I still missed that spot, at the same time, it just feels like there's just it throwing a bit of character into it, just being like, look, we're so into this that we can't call what's going on right now. And there was a bit of everything in this as well. That it started off with a rumble, and we'll talk about that a little bit. There was a few singles matches between people that I either had heard of or had mildly heard of or never heard of before at all. There was an elimination tag match to cap things off, and there was even a nice grudge title match where there was like a broken down friendship storyline going on, and I'm never opposed to a broken down storyline, a broken down friendship storyline. At the end of the day, one of the things that got me so hooked into NXT was the Gargano Ciampa feud. I've said many times that I think that Dakota and Tegan could easily have had that feud had this not have happened, but it was nice to see this and how it played really, really well. So I thought it was actually a really fun show, and we'll get through to what actually happened now. In future, I need to check the lineup of a show before I purchase the pay-per-view, because when they kicked things off with a rumble, I'm not going to lie, I felt a little bit apprehensive. A bunch of wrestlers that I've never heard of, commentators that I've never had take me through a show before, and I had no idea how well they were going to do with the play-by-play, and I was just like, oh, this is not going to go well. But I was completely wrong. This match was a lot of fun. Rhia and Sierra did a fantastic job with the play-by-play and adding character in and making the show feel special. They were marking out left, right and centre, and that made it feel energetic, and it was just great. Every competitor that come out, they had something to say about her that made her feel different and stand out, and considering that I have no way to know what any of these women look like, and have no idea how to visualise them other than the way that the character acts, I think they just did a really good job of sort of making it easy to visualise. So I was really, really pleased with it. I thought that it had actually a pretty good story, which I don't usually say about a Rumble. I don't feel like Rumbles have actual through lines, but this did, and I was quite impressed with it. It started off with Mercedes Blaze and Sky Smits, and Rhia and Sierra did a really good job in the early moments with the play-by-play and just keeping me up to date with what was going on, which instantly helped to get me invested in the match. I was like, okay, they're at least doing well now. They might slip up a little bit later in the high drama moments, but I can forgive them for that, to an extent. So I was getting into it, and it was pretty cool. They were doing a back and forth, and they both got each other with drop kicks, and Smithson tried to get Blaze out, and I knew that I was going to like the commentary almost straight away when Smithson tries to get Blaze out and Blaze kicks her in the shoulder, and they're like, oh, you really need your shoulders for this match, and like talking about how much you need your shoulders to lift someone over the top rope. And I was like, okay, if that's the level of detail you're going to give me, then I'm quite happy with that. After they've had their back and forth, the next competitor out is Nightshade. Again, never heard of her before, got no idea what she looks like. With a name like Nightshade, you can't help but just picture the more rocky type person, maybe with the dark makeup, just darker colours. It just brings up that sort of thing, maybe blacks and greens, that type of thing. I'm probably completely wrong, but I have to build some sort of picture, so that's just what I was picturing with her. She comes in, she just starts taking it to Blaze and Smithson. She gives Blaze a suplex, she stomps on Smithson's throat, and then it all just sort of starts building to a really nice angle that I thought was quite cool, because the next person out is someone called Shakara, and she is Mercedes Blaze's tag partner. Then we get Rebel Kelly, who is Sky Smithson's tag partner, and Livy Grace, who is Nightshade's tag partner. So you've got 3 teams in the ring, and it turns into a bit of a tag team match, and I thought that was quite a cool angle. I felt really sorry for Misha Reese when she came out, because that's just not a situation you want to walk into, where there's 3 teams and everyone's got a partner that's watching the back except you, and they played her up as being a fan favourite that had never hit an offensive move in Eve, and that instantly, again, you get a good feel of what she's supposed to be like. The next person out I missed the name of, but they called her the Pocket Rocket of Eve, and she came in, started doing fast offense and throwing herself off the top rope, etc, etc. There was a couple of unknown people that they played up as being unknowns to Eve, like Louise Jane and Holly Barlow, but the bigger moments came towards the end of the match. We got Jetta coming out. They called her the Princess Diana of Eve, and everyone sang along with her entrance music. The commentators marked out, and it felt like a really big moment. By now, the ring's nice and full, and the next competitor out is Dominator. Again, never seen her, don't know what she looks like, but with a name like Dominator, you pretty much know what you're going to get. She's going to come out, be bigger than most of the women, carry herself like a powerhouse, and yeah, I was right. She comes in and she starts splashing everyone and doling out Samoan drops and just generally tossing everyone around the ring. She gets the first couple of eliminations, and I thought, wow, this is a really impactful entrance. That gets overshadowed pretty quickly though, because the final competitor is Saraya Knight, and that building goes ballistic, mate. Leah and Sierra are marking out, the crowd are all going absolutely bonkers. It was such an electric moment. They played it up that Saraya had not been in Eve in years. The last time they saw her, she was in a loser leaves town match, and it felt like this important moment, and the whole feel of the match, in my opinion, just changed, because you'd had this nice, fun sort of atmosphere throughout the match, but then Dominator and Saraya come out, and it just sort of starts feeling like a fight, and if I was in that match, I would not be happy, because I was like, I'm gonna get laid out here. But unfortunately, things don't really go that well for Saraya, because she gets Dominator out, but then ends up getting eliminated herself, and she ends up fighting on the outside with Dominator. Then the eliminations start coming thick and fast with all the tag teams working together, and it's all sort of going to plan for everyone until Smithson eliminates Rebel Kelly, and then it sort of just carries on, and eventually it comes down to Jetta and Nightshade, and after a bit of a scrap, Jetta ends up picking up the win. I'm not quite sure what she wins. I don't know if there was anything on the line. If they said it, I missed it, but this was so much fun. I really liked Sierra and her little character bits. She seemed like she was really enjoying it. there was a little bit where she laughed at how many times people had tried to eliminate Sky Smithson, and there was a little bit where Mercedes Blaze was just hanging on, trying to not get eliminated, and she was just laughing at the fact that she just looked like she was dead. And it was just, it was really genuine, and it seemed so natural and welcoming, and I thought that they did a fantastic job. Didn't feel like I missed anything, and it was just a lot of fun. It zipped by, man. Next up is Lana Austen versus Yuka Sakazaki, a singles match with 15 minutes on the clock. You know what? The one thing that I do like about companies outside of WWE is the time limit, because I think that they can pace a match really well around it. And there's plenty of stories that can come out of it, as there was in this one. I actually really liked the setup of this match, and I thought that it was pretty cool that Lana was being played up as wanting to go to Japan, but she became a mother and she can't, and Eve has promised to bring Japan to her. So they're giving her this match against Yuka Sakazaki, who's debuting in Eve. And it was just a really cool setup. Lana Austen has Boom Boom Boom, I Want You in My Room as her entrance music, which is funny enough until the music stops, and then the crowd carry on singing it, and a crowd full of people singing that is just incredibly amusing to me. I thought that the whole setup of trying to make it a Japanese style match was really, really cool, and the commentators played up on it, the crowd played along with it, and it all worked really well. They start off with some honourable technical wrestling, and Rhia and Sierra do a great job bringing you up to speed with what's going on in the ring, doing the play-by-play, calling all of the small moves, the headlocks, the takedowns, the leg picks, the counters, the pinning attempts, and I just thought that they did a fantastic job with it. The crowd was applauding along to all of the sequences, and it really did feel like when I've watched New Japan before. I've never watched any of the Japanese women's wrestling, so I wish that I could say that I knew what they were like, but yeah, it really felt like that sort of, we're just going to applaud you and well done for giving us a good sort of match. We had this early sequence that Rhia did really well on with the play-by-play. It ended with Lana doing a drop kick and a forearm to the throat of Yuka Sakazaki. Then she locked her in the Boston Crab. It didn't take long for Yuka to get to the ropes, so she stomped her in the back. Then Yuka manages to turn things around. She gets a DDT and transfers straight into the armbar. She takes control for a little bit, wearing Lana down in the corner, standing on her throat. You know what? Come to think of it, they've both done something to each other's throats here. There was throat action in the first match, and I'm pretty sure there's more of that later on in the show. Is that just something that the Eve wrestlers just do a lot? It's just go for each other's throats. It's like, right, if you're going to come to Eve, just so you know, you're probably going to get nailed in the throat. It's just... It's not something that I thought of while I was watching the show, but now that I'm recapping it. They fight on the outside. Yuka ends up doing a dive off the stage to Lana. Lana does a drop kick, and they put over how it was a Jeff Hardy style drop kick because she was really influenced by the Hardys. She does a discus forearm for the cover, but that's not successful. She does a powerbomb for the cover, not successful. She kicks out of a Michinoku driver, and then another one, but this time a modified version, and in the end it ends up going to a time limit draw. And I thought that this was a really, really clever move. You've got Lana, who can continue a story of never having picked up a win in Eve before. You've got Yuka, who doesn't get an easy win on her debut, so she gets another match down the line, and when she eventually gets her first win there, that's a big thing. It's a feel-good moment. Lana gets on the mic and thanks Eve and the fans, and it just all worked out as this really feel-good moment where Lana got what she wanted, and she might not have got to go to Japan, but she definitely had a good time here, and she was really emotional about it. And with her being from Manchester, which is right on my doorstep, and being just this face that hasn't got a win yet. I'm really interested to see where she goes with that. Now, I don't know whether she's got a win in Eve since. I'm sure that I'll manage to catch up on that, but this match I just thought was really, really cool. I thought that it was nice that it started with the technical stuff and built to being a little bit more hard-hitting, and they were making a massive deal of the time limit as it went throughout the match, and it felt like it had a nice bit of drama, and considering that it was 15 minutes, it absolutely flew by, and definitely served to get me interested in both of these women more. I've not really been too familiar with Yuka Sakazaki. I've seen her in AEW, but I don't feel like I got a proper feel of what she's like in that. But I'd definitely be interested to see how she comes across in Eve, and I'm definitely interested to see what Lana Austen's character is like in the future. And I can't wait to see her on another pay-per-view. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting what I got with this next match. Session Moth Martina takes on Makiitoh, and I was excited for this because I know that my good friend Sky is a big Makiitoh fan. If I'm not saying her name right, I'm really sorry, I am trying my best. But this was pretty cool because it was presented as two diametrically opposed characters. You've got Session Moth Martina, who is introduced as having 7 kids, and then she corrects the announcer and it's 17 kids. She was banned, unbanned and rebanned in Canada, and she's in your Tinder vicinity, and I just thought that was really funny, just being presented as this rough around the edges party girl, and she gets put up against Makiitoh, who they present as being the cutest girl in the world. They put over that she's got a really hard head as well, but for the most part it's just about how bloody cute she is. The first note in this match is Martina giving a clubbing blow to the throat of Makiitoh, and again, why do the girls in Eve not like people's throats? Is it just a you can't talk shit to me if I crush your larynx type thing, or is there just a running joke going on that I'm not sure about? There's just so much throat attacking in this show, forearms and stomping on it and standing on it and clubbing blows to it and just all sorts. It just really makes me laugh. At the beginning of the match, Martina spits beer in the eyes of Makiitoh. This makes Makiitoh cry, and the whole crowd chants, "Say you're sorry." Then she does a Bronco Buster on her. Then Makiitoh ends up drinking beer with Martina to prove that she can hang with her, and the whole crowd chants Maki's on the piss. Martina gets a twisting suplex. Makiitoh does a diving headbutt, and she ends up locking Martina in an armbar and wins. And there was one point where Leah was like, Martina's treating her like one of her children. And Sierra was like, but you wouldn't do any of these things to a child. And it just proper cracked me up. Because you could tell that afterwards Leah was like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. But I just thought that this, more than being a match, was a bit of a humorous skit, and I just thought that it was really funny. Gave me a good insight into what Session Moth Martina's character's like, a good insight into what Makiitoh's like. Afterwards she got back on the mic and she was, to be honest, she was so hype that it made Mojo Rawley look like he's boring. She's just so hyped up, and she sang again, and she was just trying to get the crowd going, and it worked really well. And I thought that this was another really good match, just because it was on a show like this, when you've got so much in-ring action, it doesn't hurt to just do something humorous and light-hearted, and I definitely want to see more of this type of stuff. I can't wait to see more from Session Moth now, because I just think that she's probably got a really entertaining character from this little insight. Zoey Lucas takes on Nora Phoenix Dianna next. This one is a pretty simple one, not too much happened, but I actually still enjoyed it. Nora Phoenix Dianna is the only women's wrestler to wear the hijab, or the first, I'm not sure which one they said, it was either the first or the only. As you would expect, she was played up as the face in this match. Zoey Lucas was played up as being the self-absorbed heel, and it's all about her. And she actually teased pulling the hijab off at some point, getting some good heel heat for that. She was utilising the 5 count as much as possible. The crowd was really behind Nora Phoenix Dianna. She hit a suicide dive at one point, and the crowd were all singing her name. Oh, Phoenix Dianna, and all that sort of thing. And it was a really feel-good moment moment. She got a bridging move at one point, and Sierra and Leah loved it, and the crowd did too. Zoey Lucas, being a true heel, ended up getting a Death Valley driver and a penalty kick to MPD's chest. The cover didn't work. She got pissed off, went for Phoenix Diana's eyes, tried for a powerbomb, but this was sort of one of the spots where the commentary did let me down a little bit, because they didn't really call what MPD used as a counter, but she got the win from it. She has a really cool entrance with like a bird of prey sort of screeching noise, and I always think that those sort of birds sound really cool. It was a pretty simple one, a pretty quick one, but a good insight into these two characters. It just works as a WrestleMania sort of show, this, because it doesn't necessarily showcase everyone loads, but it gives you a little glimpse of what all these characters are like, and they're like if you come into this universe. Yeah, so I actually thought this was really cool. The co-main event of the evening is an Eve Championship match between Rhia O'Reilly, the defending champion, taking on Laura Di Matteo, her former best friend. This is a grudge feud. It's the broken down best friends storyline that I was hoping we were going to get from Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox, but that has been hit on the head by all of this madness. So it was actually quite cool to get this match. They did a really cool sort of package thing beforehand. It wasn't shown on the screen, it was being played over the speakers of the arena, and it was hard to hear parts of it, but from what I could gather, they just their friendship had just fallen apart. Rhea had cost Laura the #1 contendership. She basically said that she did it because it was better for Eve. Laura wasn't the best business decision that Eve could make, and has justified it through that. And she comes out accompanied to the ring by Livy Grace and Nightshade, and Rhea is just the proper heel in this match. Laura Di Matteo comes out on fire. She hits a super kick before the match even starts. They brawl around on the outside. She ends up throwing Rhia O'Reilly into a brick wall. Ouch. She hits a dive and the match finally starts, but it doesn't last in the ring. They go out again, they start brawling around, they start brawling to backstage. The commentators are shitting the pants, they're like, don't come near us, we've been injured. And they're just brawling back there. Rhea slams Laura on a table, she gives her a curb stomp on the stage, and in the process of all of this, some technical equipment gets broken. Back in the ring, Laura gets a code breaker. She goes for the octopus stretch, but she just can't get the arm locked in. She does a drop kick to the knee of Rhia O'Reilly, but that doesn't make her go down. She gets a DDT, goes for the submission again, but Rhea's goons distract the ref. This leads to a mystery attacker coming out who DDTs Laura once, twice, and when the ref finally gets round to counting the pinfall, Laura goes down for the count. The crowd ain't happy, the commentators ain't happy, and it was actually really good from Sierra, the character work of just being so infuriated by this. She was like, don't you dare, and she was getting so mad, and it was a really cool moment. It was a lot of fun, and the mystery attacker ended up being Sky Smithson from earlier on in the night, which means that maybe she's now aligning with this new team, so the turn on Rebel Kelly during the Rumble actually plays into this match, and I think that that's really cool. It's actually quite intriguing to see where this goes, whether Di Matteo gets another title shot, whether she wins, and I just thought that this was a really good storytelling match that gives you a good insight into how they tell stories, and I definitely want to see more. The final match is for the Eve Tag Team Championships. It's a three-way elimination tag match between the Wolf Queens, Debbie Keitel and Valkyrie, the Medusa Complex, Charlie Evans and Millie McKenzie, and the tag team champions Sami Zayn and Giselle. I keep forgetting her name, I don't know why, it's just a weird name to say, Giselle. Anyway, it was a damn good match. It's a hard recommend. At this point, I've either sold you on this pay-per-view or I haven't, and you'll either go and watch it or you won't. And I just don't want to say too much about it, because I think if you're going to go and watch it, it was a really, really fun match. There was a couple of people that stood out to me. Debbie Keitel was pretty cool. She did a second row moonsault at one point. She was doing a couple of other diving moves, and there was a comedy spot involving baking trays and chairs and various other weapons that was pretty entertaining. Sami Zayn got a fall-away slam and a German suplex that they called the Shadowfax German suplex, and I can't complain about that, because as a huge Lord of the Rings fan, I can't complain about any sort of relation to it. I'll definitely be keeping my eyes on Sami Jane, even though that'll be useless. I'll be keeping my ears on her. It just sounds so weird. I'll be keeping my eyes out for Sami Jane. The real standout though for me was Charlie Evans. At one point she got a suplex and floated over to deliver the double knees to the gut, and I just thought that was a really cool spot. It sounded cool but fucking brutal, and I definitely wouldn't want to get hurt with that. At one point she got drop kicked in the throat, and I think the resulting head bump busted her open. And then it all sort of comes down to two of the teams, obviously, because it's an elimination tag match, and you know what, I just don't want to spoil it. I think that you should go and watch it. I had a lot of fun, but I just wanted to talk about it because mostly I wanted to mention that suplex float over, because it's been playing on my mind for the last couple of days of how cool that could be. That could be a finish of a match, man, just delivering the suplex, snapping it off, and then floating over to deliver the knees to the gut, and then just covering them. Like, that's the sort of thing that if I was still creating characters on 2K or anything like that, I would definitely give them that move. So yeah, it's a hard recommend. Go and watch this match. If you're going to watch the pay-per-view, make sure that you do watch this, because if you decide not to watch any of the other matches, this one is definitely worth the watch. All in all then, this was a damn good, fun show that had a couple of feel-good moments, a couple of really good matches, loads of characters to just get invested in and take a little look at, and it was just a lot of fun. That's the word of the pay-per-view, really, because I've said it a lot, and I know that I have, but it really, really was. It was so refreshing to watch something that was just an entirely woman wrestling thing with women commentators and all the women wrestlers, and just not a single man on the show. I just thought it was really refreshing and just a really good way to take a look at a load of characters that I've never ever seen before. And yeah, I would definitely say that this is a pay-per-view you should watch. I'm definitely gonna get some more of their pay-per-views in the future, and I'll definitely be reviewing those. So that was my review of Wrestle Queendom 3. If you've got anything to say about the pay-per-view or this episode, you know where the comment section is, where you can find me on Twitter at Mason_WITD. If you've enjoyed this, hit the like button, maybe think about subscribing so you don't miss any more wrestling in the dark. But for now, I'm off, and you should have a good one.